Hello, everybody. Arthur Perez with the Ask My Roofer podcast. I hope you guys are doing well today. We have a very special guest with us. His name is Brian Cook with Dataforma. Dataforma is a new sponsor to the show, and we couldn't be happier with the partnership with them. If you guys aren't aware, Dataforma is the premier provider of project management, service management, and CRM software. And with that, Brian, how you doing, man?
How's it going, Arthur? Thanks for having me, buddy.
Of course, it's a pleasure to have you. You know, uh, for everybody that doesn't know, Dataforma is, like I said, the premier provider of project management software, service management software, and a CRM. But can you walk us through kind of the genesis of Dataforma? Who created it? Why did they create it? And let's kind of touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty fun story. It was a roofing contractor, commercial roofing contractor in southern Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And yeah, the vice president, and they were one of the original Tech to America companies as well. So they were, a mid-sized to large contractor, and they had tried every program that existed. What I call generic programs.
Like everybody else.
Hey, let's pay Salesforce a ton of money, and it'll work perfect.
We don't say that name here. That's like our version of Voldemort, those who shall not be named, right?
Give it. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. But then, like the accounting packages, and you pay them a ton of money, and we're talking six figures to customize these systems, and it's going to work great. And then you still have multiple systems. We're still tracking in Excel, and we still don't know where our service management is. And then after that, he said, screw it. And he spent 2 years. This is Daryl Moronic, our president, working as a contractor during the day, and then at night talking to a programmer till 3 or 4 in the morning. And then 2 years later, Dataforma was born. And it was meant to be for that company. And then it was kind of seen as, oh, wow, the owner said, we should go sell this. So it kind of grew organically from a roofing contractor.
Wow. And I can totally relate to that when you're trying to, manage your company and nothing is seamless. You have to go here for this, you have your Excel, your whatever it is, all of these programs that don't talk. And so, as a contractor going through the whole process of trying to find somebody to use, it's daunting when nothing connects, but you need access to everything in order to just run your business on a day-to-day basis. So can you touch on kind of the seamlessness of Dataforma and what it does?
Yeah, so we always say everyone wants one system to run their business. So Dataforma contractors, when they receive a call, whether it's from a homeowner looking for a re-roof on their house, or it's from a property manager who needs a repair on one of their 50 buildings that we may work on, that data entry in Dataforma is done up front so we can see, have we been to this building before? Have we talked to this person before? And that's what I call the roofing CRM. We don't just track the contacts or the client because there's addresses and we care what roof system is installed on that address. So if you move to a new house and we've done work on that house before, when you tell me 123 Main Street, I can see, oh, cool, we installed this type of tile roof down to the color, the manufacturer. We know whether or not it's under warranty, if we've ever been there for repairs before, and we're not redundantly entering information. So when we create a proposal, it knows your name and your address. It knows what our proposal should look like. So do the data entry one time up front so we have that permanent history and we never have to type something twice.
That's huge. Yeah, that's huge. The redundancy is such a time saver in terms of, when you're dealing with people and you only have so much time to collect information, you always feel kind of hesitant, like you need to get as much information as you can up front. But prying that information from people, it almost feels personal, right? It's part of the job. It's what we have to do. But that feature allows us to not do that, and that's incredible. One of the things that I really liked about Dataforma is the ability to use it anywhere. You can use it on your phone, you can use it on your tablet, you can use it in your office, especially with what we've been going through with COVID, and we're back into lockdowns and things like that. Can you talk about how Dataforma was built for this type of time that we're actually going through right now?
Yeah, and it's funny because I was working for that commercial roofing company during college, and then after college they hired me full time. So I worked for the roofing company, which means I used like the beta version of Dataforma.
Right.
And then Dataforma hired me. They said, hey, listen, you know roofing enough, you know Dataforma, and you never shut up. So go be one of our salesmen.
Right.
And we were web-based from the start. So this is 15 years ago. Web-based, the cloud was not a very popular thing at the time.
Right.
For the first few years, it was a rocky start. Contractors did not trust having their information being held by us.
Right.
It was the first few years I thought this may not work out, but at least I'm young and I can get a new job.
Right.
But as you're saying, the past 10 years, it's really caught on. And then the mobile apps came out.
Yeah.
So you have a true mobile app. So even your field employees can access the information they need, train that information back to the office. So I know if you just gave a proposal to a homeowner, or I'm billing my service work the same day as we were out there because I have the pictures and the description the second you leave. So it's been really good. And then with COVID, our contractors didn't have to transition. They already had their service technicians not coming to the office, right?
Right.
They look at their phone. If I'm in sales, I see my leads for that day and I take off and I go. So we got a ton of interest during COVID. And then we felt great for our contractors that, hey, this is a really simple, change for us, that they just keep operating the same. And then we have everything, set up for them.
Right. And that's huge, contractors. So if you guys are struggling at this time to, work remotely, I really feel that Dataforma is the company for you. If you guys are kind of struggling with your CRM or to track everything, to make sure that everybody's working seamlessly, because Dataforma is so good, and they have been for the last, like you said, decade in putting these systems in place. They were ready. So it's a phenomenal system. I agree. So let's talk about that. Who would be your ideal client? Who is Dataforma for? You mentioned it was created by a roofing contractor. Are you just for roofing contractors?
We still only build functionality for roofing contractors. So it's great. We work with 1,000 contractors. We have 11,000 end users, I think, now. And it's probably a third residential contractors and 2/3 commercial contractors. So basically, if you're more than $1 or $2 million a year in revenue, then you're a really good candidate to at least look at Dataforma. Okay. And we say that what we found is if you have an admin person, so if I call your office and this person answers the phone, that person's normally doing data entry on paper. So we just change it to do it on the computer, and then they're a really good fit for Dataforma. So if you're doing any sort of service work, if you have 3 or more salespeople on the residential side, it's worth at least taking a look at our system. And there's other ones out there too. And we counsel people, hey, this may be a better fit for you. If it's a price point thing, if it's hey, we don't have somebody in the office.
Right.
Because we like to support the industry. Our president is on the NRCA Alliance for Progress. I'm on the Western State, some of the committees, and the Midwest Roofing Contractors committees. So we like to help everyone in the industry, not just ourselves.
Right. And I've seen you guys everywhere. I've actually worked with the system for quite a few years now. So I like to say I have an intimate knowledge of the workings of Dataforma on a day-to-day basis. It's just so easy to use. It's one of the easiest systems that I've actually used, where everything is so seamless in terms of all the content, access to what I need, knowing where my jobs are, it's really start to finish. And that's what I like about it. So let's talk about some of the things that benefit contractors in terms of Dataforma, some of the features or maybe key features that you can point to that improve the function of day-to-day business for contractors.
Yeah, another big one that just came out, we call it mobile time card. So there's apps out there for tracking labor, and that's all they do.
Okay.
It was actually, and again, this is great because Dataforma stopped being our idea probably 10 or 12 years ago, right?
I like that.
Idea of all of our contractors.
Yeah.
Because we work with, like I said, 1,000 contractors across the US and Canada. So we're constantly getting feedback. And they said, hey, I'm paying a lot of money for this app that only tracks hours for jobs in Dataforma. So now our contractors, every single employee that goes to a job, so tie it to the employee, the job, and the cost code, right?
Yeah.
And then every day, if I'm a project manager, I don't have to wait till the end of the week to see how the job's going. I see every day my progress. Are we over? Are we under? How do we look? So yeah, mobile time card, salesmen getting all of their calls for the day and then recording calls. So if I'm on the road driving around, I can actually say, hey, I just talked to Arthur. He says, of course, he's going to go with us. Send the contracts. And that's logged in there. Completely paperless service departments. This was our bread and butter for years.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, when we came out, this is what we sold Dataforma on. Run your service department paperlessly. All the pictures, the hours, materials are transmitted through the app so we can instantly at the office see, review, and invoice to that client.
Yeah, that's great.
And even on the front end, like you said, when I receive a bid opportunity or a lead, how do I track that? How do I assign it to a salesman, know that he's working on it, store all of my documents tied to that project, create my proposal, and then if we get the job, all the features we said.
Yeah, that's the scariest part of making sure that you're taking care of that lead, that gold, right? Until it turns into something. So yeah, I agree. So in terms of Dataforma, a new contractor that's signing on, are you guys, so what's the process for a new contractor? What can they expect from Dataforma when they first sign on? They make the decision, this is the system for me, it's going to improve my functionality, my business. What's the next step for them?
Yeah, so we obviously train them, and this is a big part of what we decided years ago. So we'll come to your office and do live training, obviously a little bit up in the air because of COVID.
Right.
Luckily, about 10 years ago, 7 years ago maybe, we just started doing virtual training. So via meetings like this.
Right.
So we are very experienced training like this. So it's not something new for us. So again, this has been, a big year for Dataforma for our contractors because we've had to do it like this, but we have expertise now. And a lot of our staff are still employees from our roofing company or from other roofing companies. So when you talk to John and Monica and Shelly and Mike and Vince, these aren't people that are tech people. They're roofing people that work for a tech company now. So the jargon, the experience is all there. So it really helps with the process. And like I said, we've trained about 11,000 end users now. So we know that we know how to get your people to use technology, in our industry where sometimes people think that's impossible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's, when you're talking about contractors, old habits die hard, right? We're the last ones to move towards technology. But it feels like if you're not a part of this technological wave going into 2021, because it doesn't seem that that's going to change at all. This is how things are going to happen, right? Virtual waves, your CRM on your phone, everything wireless, access anywhere. That is the wave of the future. And so you guys have a leg up because you've been developing it for so long and you have these means to show contractors, look, we have a small army of end users out there, right? 11,000 people who have been perfecting and kind of sharpening these tools that you guys have put together.
I never would imagine 15 years ago when I joined the roofing industry, that would be on a roofing podcast. Yeah. But here we are because it's 2020. Yeah. And things have changed. And really, sometimes I tell contractors, there's a lot of contractors, we use Dataforma to run our sales group, right? So I know every time that we've ever talked to any contractor. And every year, I get a contractor that I've been chasing for probably 10 years. And really? I tell them, and they always say, like, oh, we're sorry. I'm like, don't worry about it. And it's good for you. One, because we have more functionality now than we did 10 years ago.
Right.
I mean, we have 11 full-time programmers. So we have a small army of programmers adding new functionality. So there's new functionality for you as a contractor. And two, we're better at the training now. So it's actually, it stinks for me that it took me 10 years, but it's great for you in the end because you're walking into a much better system, than we had 10 years ago. So we try to make it easy for them that way.
So you mentioned, your tech people. What are the new developments that are coming, or can you kind of let the cat out of the bag on some of the things that you guys are working on at Dataforma?
Yeah, so we really think we've gotten very, very good at service management, right? I mentioned. Right. So we want project management to be just as good.
Okay.
So that mobile time card is the first step. Now, how do we interact between the office and field more? So if a foreman's out there and we got an issue, I need to be texting you via Dataforma. So I'm texting you with the pictures and you're texting back in the app and we're logging daily field reports, right?
Yeah.
So I'm able to say, hey, do I have a special COVID checklist I need to go through? Is there also a sheet metal checklist? So all these little things that people are doing on paper or separate apps are going to be right there for the foreman at their fingertips in Dataforma. And then obviously it's 2020, so the API is getting released more and more. Right. So if there's an accounting package you want to link to. But yeah, think about, we want project management to be as good as service management in Dataforma.
Yeah. And it looks like it's progressing that way. I mean, with all the tools that you're providing contractors, you can tell you have spent a lot of time with the contractors, just kind of developing and refining, all of the add-ons for the apps and things like that. So that's huge. Well, we actually have a couple of Dataforma users who would like to kind of introduce themselves and speak on their experience and how Dataforma has helped them. So what I'd love to do is kind of transition to them real quick. Do you want to hang out real quick while we introduce Tracey Donels and Kim Baxter?
Sounds good. I'll be here.
All right. Thank you. We'll get back to you shortly. Thanks again, guys. So this is Arthur Perez with the Ask My Roofer podcast, and we have Kim Baxter here with NRP, the National Roofing Partners. How you doing today? Good morning.
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. So let's just get a little background on you. I know that you guys are pretty big. Can you talk about National Roofing Partners and kind of what you guys do and your bread and butter?
I'd love to.
All right.
We have been in business since in 2005, it was the brainchild of Steve Little.
Oh, okay.
President of KPost Roofing here in Dallas.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So this is his baby.
Okay.
And he put it together with a bunch just to bring all of those big commercial roofers all across the United States together to just share best business practices.
Yeah. That's
and
huge.
At one of the meetings in 2007, one of the gentlemen brought a client to the table and said, we service them locally. They're looking at nation. I mean, look at us sitting around the table. Could we do the business? And they said yes. And it was off and running in 2007.
Wow. So I guess we'll call that humble beginnings. Right. So what are you guys doing now in terms of numbers? Are you strictly commercial? Are you residential? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, so we are strictly commercial.
Okay.
I have been here for 9 years, almost exactly. I came in to run the service side of the business, and we have grown it exponentially. We have a project side, so that's all roof replacements. Okay. We actually have a solar division. We began a couple years ago. We have the co-op division, the cooperative purchasing for government and schools. So that's another division. And we also have a telecom division.
Oh, wow.
And that's something I never thought we would get into.
Right.
But we got a phone call one day and they were like, hey, can you help us change out rooftop 4G to 5G? And we jumped at it. And here we are about 2 years later, running a telecom division. And
that division must just be going nuts right now. I mean, in terms of all the transition to the 5G.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up with. They can't keep up with equipment. That seems to be the biggest, with COVID.
Yeah.
And manufacturing and transportation, and the equipment is just the issue right now. Plenty of work, but gotta wait for the equipment.
So speaking to that effect, you guys have a ton of work. You have your hands in a ton of different fields in terms of roofing. How do you guys manage that? I know that you guys utilize Dataforma. Can you kind of speak to the genesis of using Dataforma, how long you've been using it, and what it does for you guys?
I am not a paid salesperson from Dataforma, but I can tell you that we have used it. Our first work order was in April 2007.
Okay.
We used it from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It was brought in. I have actually looked at a few other softwares just to, they bring it to the table and they say it's fancy. And I always say it's sexy,
Right.
They always sell the software as, it can do this and this and this.
Right.
And they never can do what Dataforma can do. Yeah. It's just easy to use. It's easy to train, customer service people on it, and projects uses it. Um, and we're just getting ready to start using the CRM. It's just an all-in-one that we haven't found anything that would do anything better for us.
Right. Yeah, I've used the system for a few years now, and I feel the same way about it. The ease of use, it's just hard to beat. You know, the fact that everything communicates so well within itself, you can't beat that. I don't have to go to a bunch of other different softwares or programs in order to run my business, which is so tedious, which I have done in the past, and you know what a time waste that is. You know, having to do something like that. So.
Yeah, and building, when you use different accounting programs, and then you use a
Mhm.
software for re-roof estimating, and then you use a CRM, and then you have to build APIs
Yeah.
so that they'll all talk to each other.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to have your CRM, your project software, and your service software, and your accounting software
Mhm.
all right there, and then they talk to each other. So the salesperson can put a lead in, and then that turns into a service work order. And if they want a project bid, then that rolls over to the projects department, and it's all there.
Yeah, and it's seamless. Yeah, it's phenomenal. So in terms of the user experience, so you guys signed on from the beginning. First work order was with Dataforma. Was there a lot of training involved? How has your experience been with Dataforma in terms of training you how to use their systems?
Their training is, you ask and you get. That's how I like to describe it. All you do is make a phone call or send an email, and they are, how can we help you? They'll, if we get a client in that's got 3,000 buildings, all we have to do is put it in an Excel spreadsheet, and they'll upload them all for us. So we don't have to hand put it in.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, 3,000. I think I do need to jump on the train with you guys. That'd be phenomenal.
It would get a little repetitious to put that many buildings in for the customer service people.
Absolutely, right? Yeah, that would be a huge waste of time. So the fact that it actually recognizes it, that you're eliminating a lot of that repetition in time. I mean, that's huge, in terms of morale, right? Because you want people who are moving on to the next thing, doing the same thing so repetitively. It just kind of brings you down. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then on top of that, we started looking into the CRM, starting to use CRM, and all I had to do was make a phone call to Brian, and Brian has had 2 Zoom meetings with the sales administrator to get her moving in the right direction. And I mean, it's instant. You get a response in 30 minutes. So
That's fantastic. So, is there anything in terms of data forma that you would like to say, or anything a way that you would recommend it to other contractors?
there's a million.
Yeah.
I could make a list of 100 different reasons why they should go to Dataforma, but in these days, everything's about best business practices. We
Right.
really push that amongst and we call them partners. They're our partners.
Yeah.
We work together across the United States, and when they use the same software, they can talk to each other about it. And
Yeah.
they can share, what do you do in this instance, and what do you do in this instance? And the ease of use, it's so easy to use that you just, you upload your invoice and your pictures and everything in documents, and having everything in one spot. I know how many contractors that deal with 7 software programs to run their company.
Yeah, it's daunting. That's a scary task to have to maintain and manage all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and we got rid of 3. We were using, I think, 5, and we are down to 2 that I know of. Yeah, because we're moving over to CRM, and we got rid of the one we were using for projects because it wasn't working for us. And I really pushed that Dataforma background. A lot of people are new in an RP,
Hmm.
so they didn't know what Dataforma could do. And once we started digging in, they were like, "Oh, well, I don't know why we're using this other one."
Great information. I agree with that in terms of the ease of use with Dataforma. So, in terms of national roofing partners, is there any way that people can get a hold of you if they wanted to reach you right now? How would they get in contact with you?
So the easiest way is probably our website, which is nationalroofingpartners.com, of course. And there are a number of ways that they can, if they want to be a client, there's a form they fill out to be a client and immediately hits us. If they want to be a partner, because we're always adding new partners across the United States, there's a form they can fill out that instantly comes to us. You can put in a work order online. You can look at our team and see who we are, read about what we do. And, but we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, pretty much anywhere.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on the show and just providing us a little bit of insight on your day-to-day, on how you guys utilize Dataforma, and just letting everybody know where they can find you. Guys, this is Kim Baxter, National Roofing Partners. Guys, check them out. If you're looking to become a national partner, reach out to them on the website. You can find them all over social media. And it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
We'll
Thanks
talk to you
me.
soon. Have a great day. Bye. Well, we're back, everybody. This is the Ask My Roofer podcast, and I'm super excited to have another Dataforma user in the house today, Tracey Donels from KPost. How you doing, sir?
Fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. We had an opportunity to talk a little bit. Let's just introduce you to our listeners and our guests. Let's talk about, really quickly, how long you've been with KPost and kind of what your capacity is.
Well, thank you. I've been with KPost for a little over 14 years.
Okay.
The business itself is in its 16th year of business, so I feel like I've been here since almost day one, even though I haven't.
Right.
I'm the vice president of the services department. You can think of that as service manager, service owner. Sometimes it's a pretty much service manager. It's just we got a lot going on. We got a couple more trucks than most companies. Service department, we are pretty substantial.
I know. I was going to say, you say that very lightly. Can you talk about kind of what you guys are running in production right now on average and how many guys you have out in the field?
Gotcha. So right now in the field, we're at just hovering about 300 techs in the field, about 350, 360 employees overall. We should do about 70 million in revenue this year between production and service.
Wow.
And the big thing is that I think the thing that sets us apart is we do it all out of one location.
Really?
One location in Dallas, one site, one warehouse, all here.
That's phenomenal. So that sounds just like a massive amount of work to be done when you're talking about, the amount of field employees you guys have, the amount of people that you have in the office. You guys utilize Dataforma. So when did you guys start utilizing Dataforma, and what was the transition like?
So if I've been here for almost 14 years, we probably started using Dataforma 12 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. I was in the service coordinator, service scheduler type of position. I was really doing all the administrative paperwork, scheduling crews, kind of stuff like that. And we came on when Dataforma was fairly new. They had only been around for maybe a year or two. I remember we were one of the companies at their very first President and Super User Summit out in Arizona, I want to say, and it seems so long ago. But yeah, so probably about 12 years. So we've really seen the system grow from what it used to be to what it is now.
Right. So with all that growth, how has the training and expertise of Dataforma to kind of get you guys to maximize the system been?
So I think the biggest thing about Dataforma is all about organization. It's all about knowing what you have to do, what your resources are, what your performances are. This is service work, right? Yeah. Service work is just about doing what you told someone you would do. And you've got to be organized. You can't drop balls. I mean, very few people like to fire their service provider. Whether it's the plumber that comes to their house or their lawn guy or whatever, they like their service provider. So as long as you keep servicing them, don't drop any balls, don't forget about stuff, you're going to continue to service them. And that's the thing I really like about Dataforma. If you're not an organizational person, it can help you organize everything.
Exactly.
And if you are a person that likes to be organized, maybe a little OCD like myself, it will do wonders for you because it turns it from something that I have to use to something that I can use as a tool and start to learn stuff about. And that's where I feel like I've really been able to grow with the system is I've grown with it, not only as a roofer, but as a business person. And I keep thinking of new ways that I can use the system to grow my own system.
Right. So in terms of ideas and stuff like that, has Dataforma reached out to KPost to kind of maybe farm ideas or talk about new avenues or things that you may need in the future?
Yeah. Definitely. The one thing, like I said, I referred to their PSU summit, the President and Super User Summit that they've had. And they had those for probably 8 or 9 years in a row. And those were some of the best get-togethers, because not only would it be, hey, here's the stuff we're working on. How do we make it better? It was, what additional functionality do we need in the system? Yeah. But then it was other contractors telling you, here's how I use the system. Here's how I use the system. If you know anything about Dataforma, you know it's immense.
Yeah.
Right? Got tons of fields everywhere. Some people don't like that. But again, if you're a little bit OCD and really organized, you're going to love that. And that's kind of what I love. So I loved being able to see how other people would use it. And then I would take in that information and be like, well, they're a little bit different than me, but I can take what they're doing, I can twist it a little bit this way, and I can get this output out of the system. So that's what I've really loved. And they were always very open about how to fix their system, or how to improve their system is probably a better term. Yeah. But we do, because we run a lot of stuff through the system, we do sometimes find some errors, and they're always really helpful. We'll say, hey, we broke it here, or something like that, and they'll fix it right away. And back 12 years ago, when they were a smaller company, I could put in a suggestion to the tech guy's email box, and I would have a new functionality in the system within a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Wow. And for a while, it was like that all the time. Now they're a much bigger company, right? Any kind of change in the system is going to change a lot of systems, but they are still just this week, I emailed John Wolf with a suggestion on something to do with the system in regards to warranties in buildings. So they're always very helpful. And the good thing is that they can't change something, they're connecting with contractors all over the place. Yeah. So they're going to say, hey, we can't do that, but contractor X from here had that issue, and this is how we work their workaround. Or can I give you their number and you can contact them? I think that's one of the best things about Dataforma is people, like I said, people can learn from each other. And it's even been going on during this pandemic.
Right.
Having calls like this and just sharing best business practices with a fellow user.
Yeah. And I think that's huge. We touched on before we started talking, how the pandemic has really affected things in terms of access to our clients, to our customers. Can you talk about how Dataforma has helped you during the pandemic and kind of just reach people? I know that you guys are running quite a few texts. How does that seamlessness or non-contact portion of Dataforma help you in a time like this?
So it's really been able to help us stay safe and healthy. Yeah. Before the pandemic hit, we were kind of what I call semi-paperless, right? We were getting everything into the system, but we were still printing paper, what we considered as a backup to the foreman.
Right.
And the foremen were still coming in every day to get their materials, get their work reviewed and stuff like that. And COVID hit and we had to end all that.
Yeah.
Stopped having guys come in, and we assigned them a day to come in. And then what it really forced us to do is say, hey, for the last 5 years, you've been semi-paperless with Dataforma. Now we're going to force you to go fully paperless. Yeah. And it was hard for me in about a month, but I will tell you that my service operation is a better service operation today because of what we went through with COVID than it was beforehand.
I love that.
Because all these things, they're forcing you to change. And what they're really doing is they're forcing you to take advantage of the tools you have, right? You've got this tool to make work easier, to limit the amount of hours you are spending at a computer, right? So now let's use it fully and let's run it all the way down the chain, right? So like before we were checking work orders the next morning. We're checking them real time now. And if it's done at 1 o'clock, it's checked at 1:05. And if my AR team's caught up, they can invoice it at 1:06. The customer knows it's done.
Yeah, that's huge. And then the system also allows you to, like you said, your customer knows what's going on real time. You know what's going on real time. And you can't beat that in terms of service, because we are a service industry first, as you said.
We're not roofers. We're information gatherers.
That's right.
It just happens to be that we fix the roof while we're up there.
Right. Absolutely.
A for you.
Absolutely. So in terms of Dataforma, if you were a new contractor, or if I were a new contractor, what would you say about even just checking out the system?
I would talk to not only users of the system, but talk to users of other systems. Find out what they like. There's tons of systems out there right now. Right now the market might be dominated by 2 or 3, but check out the good and the bad. One of the things that I would say in one of our lower times, when we were deciding whether or not we wanted to venture away from Dataforma 8 years ago or 7 years ago, I went on a road trip. I went to California, I went to Florida, and I went to New York. Mm-hmm. I saw 3 or 4 contractors at each location. Some were Dataforma users, some were not Dataforma users. Some people were used to use one system and went to Dataforma. Some people were using Dataforma and went to another system.
Right.
So do your research. But don't only do it with the companies that are trying to sell you.
Right.
Go look at some users. And then after that, plan. Don't try to set up a system and run your business. I've seen this with 2 or 3 different softwares, whether it be for CRMs or roof assessment softwares or stuff like that. When you're setting up a system, when you're setting up a new how to do things in your world, don't try to keep doing your normal stuff while you're trying to set up the new system, right? You either got to hand off setting up the new system to someone, or you got to hand off the day-to-day operation so you can go work on the new system. Right. Then it's give you the time to work the traps and think about, okay, really what has to go in? What changes do we have to make to implement this new system? Because you think it's going to be, it's going to be this and this and this, but every day you're going to come in and you're going to find out, this is something we need to change, or this is something we could learn to do better. Right. And you just have to always be willing and always be ready to change, because the better you know a tool, the more you learn that tool over time, you're going to find out different ways you can use it to save time. And if you're not able to change, you're not going to use that tool to save time. Or worse, you're going to use that tool to save time, and then you're not going to do anything with the time you saved.
Right.
You're not going to go out there and do anything extra. So I think you have to really spend the time and look at it. And you have to know that you're going to have to train your guys. I don't care how smart your guys are, who they are. You're going to have to train them all the time. We've been using Dataforma for, like I said, 12 years, and the app has probably been around for maybe 5 or 6.
Right.
Every Forma meeting we have every month, we're always going something over about Dataforma.
I think that's great advice, though. That's great advice. Just staying up on the training, on the system, so that everybody's fresh, like you said. And it sounds a lot like roofing. The more you know your tools, the better you're going to be at it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You have to go over it, and whether, like I said, whether it's something we can do better, or it's something, hey, now that you guys got this, let's move on to this. Let's do some more. And I've been using the app for a long time, and I've still got stuff that I would like my foreman to be able to learn better to go over doing the app.
Right. Well, I appreciate it, Tracey. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Is there anything that you want to let the world know about KPost? Anything coming up, or anything you'd like to plug in terms of social media?
Well, I would say get involved in your local associations, your state, your local, your national associations. Don't forget about one or the other. Depending on where you live, you may have multiple. I myself am on the board member of MRCA, but we are very, very active here at KPost in NRCA, MRCA, NTRCA, RCAT, National Women in Roofing, all that. Support each other. RT3, forgot about RT3. Support each other in the industry. We can really learn off each other. Here at KPost, we're just looking to have another great year. Right now, we are in the middle of a Texas Instrument remodel or re-roof from a tornado last year. So that's keeping a good 60 or 70 roofers probably busy all at one time.
How many squares is that job?
I have no idea. I don't want to know. I don't want to know anything about it until it's time to service it. I don't want to know about any troubles. I don't want to know anything good, anything bad. Just don't bother me until it's time to put in some pitch pans and charge for some repairs.
Right. Well, I appreciate it, Tracey. It's been a pleasure. And You're always welcome on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Tracey Donels with KPost. Guys, check them out on social media. What's the website that they can find you guys at, Tracey?
www.kpostroofingandwaterproofing.com.
There you go. You have it right there. Well, thank you, Tracey. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
So there you have it, guys. Straight from Tracey and Kim. More reasons why you guys need to utilize Dataforma for your project management, service management, and CRM software. Brian, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Is there anything else you want to let the users or listeners know about Dataforma?
Yeah, just check us out, please. We're always just trying to meet contractors. Dataforma.com, social media, just find Dataforma and support the industry. Things have been crazy lately. So if you can give with virtual trade shows or anything where, the Alliance for Progress, I know, is still doing a lot of things that benefit others, just help out the industry and we'll get through this. And hopefully 2021 is a hell of a lot better year.
We know it's going to be. And you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. This is the Ask My Roofer podcast. And as always, stay safe on those roofs, guys.
What?